Hello and welcome to the Ditch That Textbook Digital Summit, where we are all about practical teaching ideas, that creativity, technology, pedagogy, and those practical things that you can use in class right away. My name's Matt Miller. I'm the author of Ditch That Textbook and the host of the summit. And in today's show, we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. Surprise, especially this year, there's been a lot of talk about artificial intelligence, but this is going to take a little different twist than maybe what you'd expect, because we've heard an awful lot about, AI in the classroom and creating lesson plans and what about cheating and all of that stuff. But today I wanted to bring in Ed Campos because he's been thinking about this in a little bit different way than I intended. And not what I intended, but than I've been thinking about. And it's sort of a focus that I think is really important for us as educators. It's something we've been wrestling with for a long time. So, Ed, let's get into this. First of all, hello. Thank you for being on the summit. Can you tell everybody just a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, Matt, this is awesome to be here. This is an honor. I really appreciate it. It's good to see you again. And been a longtime fan of the summit. Yeah, my name is Ed Campos Jr. I live in Central California in a agricultural town called Tulare. In the middle, it's about an hour south of Fresno, hour north of Bakersfield. So, and I am a education consultant right now for Kings County Office of Education, helping teachers, doing professional development. That's a 75% position that I have. And then the other 25%, I like to call my genius hour, so that I get to work with people that I want to work, outside of the state, across the state, people that I've met in conferences, a lot of folks that Matt. And then I also started, part of that Genius Hour project is I started a nonprofit called Campo Creativo, campocreativo.org, which is a play off of my last name. And Campo means field in Spanish. So it's the creative field, and dedicated to the creative field of education, students, teaching, learning, surviving the creativity that it takes to, do art, survive, feed a family on a field worker's salary. My parents pick grapes around here in the Central Valley. So just creativity in general. So that's been a big part of what I've been doing lately.
Yeah. And hey, I can vouch for the creativity thing. Ever since I've known Ed, and gosh, Ed, I've known you for at least 5 or 6 years, if not more. That's been the thing that I think I've admired. Well, one of many things that I've admired about Ed is just his sort of creative twist on things and the way that he thinks about things. I got to say, one creative twist that Ed has always had way before ChatGPT was coming up with titles for his presentations. He's always got really impressive stuff. In fact, I've even asked him a couple times to be like, hey, Ed, I got this session I'm trying to do, and I really don't like the title. Can you help me out? So he's always been really, really good for that. So I can vouch for the creative side of Ed. So
that's funny. A lot of people told me that. They're like, hey, ChatGPT's coming for your job. I go, man, Chicano GPT still got it. That's been around for a while. That's yeah. But it's good. It helps out.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, like we were saying with ChatGPT coming around, a lot of people have been thinking, especially in education, about, can it help me write my lesson plans? All those kids are going to use it to do is cheat and do their assignments and everything. But there's tons of other ways that it can be used. And you've started thinking about it in terms of wellness, right? Which I think is interesting, because it's sort of the opposite direction that I see people thinking about when it comes to AI. So just give us sort of your mindset, give us sort of your frame of mind on this whole idea.
I'll tell you the origin story of the idea, actually, where it happened, because I had a 4-hour virtual class that I was teaching interns, doing a technology class for intern teachers. And this was last year. So I had AI wasn't a part of my practice yet. So I was still kind of new with it. It was a long day, 4 hours on Zoom. I still had to prep for some presentations the next day. I had 2 workshops the next day that the presentations were kind of done. I may or may not have been procrastinating. And one needed to be translated into Spanish. So that basically was 3 presentations. And I was so stressed out, man. I was just exhausted, fried, and then I finished 9 p.m. Pacific. I said, you know what, before I do this, I really want to go to sleep, but let me do a meditation real quick so I can just calm my nerves before I get some kind of work done. And then I did a meditation, and while I was meditating, a thought came in. You're trying to clear your mind and have some stillness. A thought came into my mind midway in the meditation. I said, maybe to use some of the AI, and I had learned about this Chrome extension to help me make slides. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can use some AI tools that you've been kind of tinkering around with to help outline this agenda of some ideas that I was going to put into the PD, and then maybe even help make the slides. Mm-hmm. And I came out of the meditation and I got on ChatGPT and helped it outline my presentation, give me presenter notes with some bullet points in English and Spanish, and then even have me give me a decent outline of slides. I was obviously going to change the image, and I was like, and I did that in like 40 minutes for the 3 presentation. I was like, I think I'm gonna get some sleep.
Hey.
And I woke up early because I'm an early riser, and then I just polished it up and added my piece to it. And I was like, oh man, I started telling people, so that's kind of like what has got me started. It helped me take care of myself for a little bit. And, I started thinking about even after that, it wasn't a routine. And then you start to get into this mode of like, I'm so much more efficient. I can do so much more. But I started thinking about like, is this gift? We always ask this question, or we complain, there's never enough time, especially educators, right? I mean, everybody complains. There's never enough time in the day. And then now we can, if we use this correctly, not always, and there's definitely a lot of, things we need to be aware of when it comes to AI. But where will we, if we can use this time, what can we do with that? Is the goal to do more, or is the goal to do better? Mm-hmm. And I was another one. I was like, finish this thing. I was just telling you about it a little earlier. Finish this task in like 45 minutes that normally would have taken me the whole day. And I was about ready to jump into the next task. And I was at work and I was, okay, that was awesome. And it wasn't just done, like checkbox done. It was like really good and super creative, because I was like just going for brokes and like, can I do this? Mm-hmm. Can I add this? And so I was excited to go deliver this PD. It was a good design. It helped me get really creative with it. Mm-hmm. And I was ready to jump into the next thing. And I'm like, you know what, man? This used to take me a day and it would be okay done. And now it's really good. And I'm done in 45 minutes. I'm going to reward myself. So instead of jumping to the next task, I took a beat, took a couple breaths. I think I'm going to go make some tea and go sit outside, drink this tea with some sun on my face outside. It was a nice day before I get on to the next task, Yeah. Uh-huh. And that's kind of like been my flow for it. If I can use it, what can I do with this time that AI can save me? And this is my driving question of this keynote I've been doing. If AI can save us time, what are we going to do with that time? Mm-hmm. What can we do with that time? And for me, it's connections and creativity. First, to connect with ourselves, because I'm going to tell you right now, and I don't think I'm going to get any pushback. Educators, we've been running around like a bunch of nervous, frazzled wires, dysregulated bodies. Dysregulation causes dysregulation. We know that. And not healed from our own traumas, not healed from the trauma of the pandemic. And we're just going, and no one has told us to stop. And so like, first to give ourselves some connection and like connect to the breath, connect to the body, be present, be aware of like, oh, I just got that stuff done and it's pretty good. Not just checkbox. I don't want people to be checkboxers. Like we're done with checkbox. Go for brokes, like do dope stuff that nobody's ever heard of. And so because I saved time with that parent engagement night, I was able to be present for those people, for the people that I'm teaching, greet those parents, remember their names, because I wasn't caught doing the busy work of the slides and the presentation notes. And so that's my thing, is like, well, I can connect to myself first with some time that I save. And then that's going to allow me to be able to connect better, be fully present, and give the gift of listening to every adult and child that I talk to. And then like, once I can get that, like start shooting for the moon, like let's make this super dope. whatever I'm doing, the lesson plan, PD, any gathering,
Yeah, yeah. I got to tell you, man, this like resonates so deeply with me because I'm somebody that tries to do way too much. I try to squeeze way too. I mean, anybody that's like, anybody that works with me or has like done projects with me or something knows that like I have a hard time pushing stop. And so and if you're watching this, like I was just telling Ed before we came on, that essential question, I'm going to put, this is a version of what you were saying, at least. I saw him post this on social media, and the keynote speech that he was doing that was related to this. I mean, it just spoke to me. Like, if you can save time, what are we going to use it for? And just like you said, if we're not careful, we're just going to use it for the same old stuff. We're just going to keep grinding ourselves down. If we become more efficient and then yet we still try to do more and we continue to see the same burnout, it's sort of a fool's errand to try to do more things and end up losing out on. And I guess you could say that even before AI came along, we should have tried to get this balance right. But maybe this is just one of those unique opportunities to level set. Right now, we have all of this new technology that can help us be more efficient. And so if we're a little bit more mindful about how we use it, and if we do save time, if we're mindful about what we do at that time, maybe that gives us a fresh start on this. Maybe it gives us a new opportunity to get the balance right. Am I hitting it here?
100%, man. Because I think, like, honestly, this is always the way I view technology. Technology is to do things faster. Just think about a computer, a calculator, right? Mm-hmm. But we've never stopped ourselves to be like, oh, well, I can do all this math. Let's like use this to like be human, connect more. I've always seen technology like that. I can just I can be more efficient. And we've been saving time with technology when we use it right and have proper training, of course. But are we using technology or is technology using us?
Yeah.
And this is a very dangerous position we're in right now, because I do feel if we don't acknowledge this is a tool I can use for my betterment and get my work done. And honestly, I think we collectively need to our organizations need to have these conversations. I've been asking people, you're going to set AI policy, but is your staff wellness and mental health involved in the AI policy? Is that incorporated in any way? Like we're going to let the AI and the machine do all the rote, structural tasks and let the humans do the human stuff, do the loving, the caring, the coaching, the encouraging. Because if not, we're basically going to turn into like in the Matrix where everybody's plugged in like batteries.
Yeah.
And because we know that with the AI is taking our data, we know it. Yeah. And so, but we just got to like understand that relationship and like give what we can, but take what we can for ourselves too.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm super curious to hear sort of your journey on this, some of your practices that you've tried, like some of the ways that this has actually come into play in your own life and some of the, like suggestions that you might make for people and stuff. So kind of walk us through, like, if we're on board with you. If we've heard, sort of this pitch from you at the beginning, and are like, okay, Ed, I'm with you on this, but how does it show up in my life?
So I think one of the main thing I try and convince the people, like I started this mindfulness practice about 3-4 years ago. Mm-hmm. I watched this book on Netflix called Minimalism, which led me to this book called 10% Happier by Dan Harris, and then led me to his app, 10% Happier, which is now called just Happier. And it's a meditation app. One of the best apps I've ever used. You can get a 30-day free trial. Meditations, mindfulness, sleep, imposter syndrome meditations, creativity meditations, like full-on courses, 30-day trial. We can drop that link to people. Mm-hmm. Just showed me what I could do when I was getting stressed with like 1 minute, 3 minutes. And that was a game changer for me, because same thing like you, Matt, I think we're cut from the same cloth, and we just go. And nobody was looking out for me. And if I don't look out for myself, maybe family, but even family, we all burn ourselves. We're all working just as hard. Mm-hmm. And that app has really helped me like just be a little more aware. And it's a muscle. You got to practice. Now I can meditate for long periods of time, but it just started with a 1 minute, a 3 minute, a 5 minute. So my main thing, and the Calm app, I think is like free for a lot of educators. Like I just talked to a friend of mine. So like Happier app, which I love, the Calm app, my friend I was working with yesterday was just saying like the district or the union bought that, educators get a free. So something I would recommend some kind of mindfulness practice. And then I would couple that with, because you're tinkering with AI. I'm not gonna, I'll share a little bit about my strategies, but
yeah,
however you play with it, if you know you can save some time. The other thing I would recommend is look into the Pomodoro technique, which I think, if you haven't heard of that, the Pomodoro has been a game changer for me because I have a hard time focusing on tasks. And the Pomodoro technique is, and I think I have a visual on my slides.
Yeah.
With it basically stems from the idea that it's a tomato timer. So Pomodoro, like, right? Tomato timer.
Pomodoro is tomato in Italian or something, isn't it?
Yeah. And this Italian educator or businessman or something said, I'm going to call this Pomodoro technique because the human brain cannot do quality work, focused work for longer than 25, 30 minutes. I don't know where they got that research, but sounded good to me because I know after 20 minutes, my squirrel brain is all Facebook, Instagram, looking, you know what I mean? Like anything, hey, you want to talk about what happened this weekend, what we're going to do? And so I got that. That made sense to me. And the Pomodoro technique basically says work in short bursts and then give yourself a short non-tech break. So it's like 25-minute work sprint. Like you focus, this is what I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on my slides for the Ditch Summit or something. And then reward yourself with a 5-minute break. And then, so that's like my tea break, or I have little coloring pages near my desk and I just color for 5 minutes, or I have a book that I read for 5 minutes. I actually started getting these sand timers, and this is like,
oh, wow.
Like I use these 25-minute sand timers and 5-minute timers so that I'm more aware of what time is and not as counting on digital tools. And it's just beautiful to watch sand, pass through the hourglass as much as the days of our life. I think there was like some kind of quote
like sands through the hourglass. These are the days of our lives. Yeah.
But and then I think like that, if you can do that, and there's also Chrome extensions that if you look up that will block your computer and say, take a break, like 25 minutes. And I think that like forces us to be aware and then start thinking about like, how much did I just get done in 25 minutes? Especially if you're using AI, and like really evaluate. For me, you have to compare how long did this used to take me compared to what I was just able to do. And then like reward yourself, take a little victory lap in that 5-minute break. You know what I mean? If you save time. Yeah.
So hearing you talk about the Pomodoro technique and at very least, just building in some of those little breaks and everything, I could hear, because I've been there, you've been there, like classroom teachers going, I have breaks between, like, especially middle school, high school teachers, they're like, I have breaks between class, but that's not really a break. But I'm also thinking like, you've got lunch and you've also probably got a prep period. So I'm thinking on my like 45-minute prep period, if I was willing to schedule in 5 minutes at the beginning or 5 minutes at the end or 5 minutes in the middle or something, like, I mean, even though we're all busy and we all have a ton of things to do, I think you could probably make, and I think I could make a good case that that's 5 minutes well invested, that if you put your to-do list aside for 5 minutes, you come out better off ahead of time, right?
Yeah. I mean, and granted, like classroom teachers is a different ballgame because you've got 100-something bodies, young bodies, babies looking at you, and you're responsible. So you can't always take breaks. But I do think like when you do that, you're grounded, you're centered, and then you're better for your next task. I do it at home. I do Pomodoros because I used to walk by ignoring my dishes and my laundry. And then now I look at them as like, I could just do that, turn on some music and do a quick 20-minute Pomodoro, and I could reward myself by reading a book.
Yeah.
and then my dishes are done. So my brain thinks like this now. But also, I've been doing this project-based learning PD with some teachers, and I run PD like this. I go, we're going to work for short bursts, and then we're going to go take a 5-minute walk around campus and do a walk and talk and get some sun, and then come back. And the teachers are like, I could do this with my students. I'm like, yeah, we could teach them mindfulness and the Pomodoro, and like, let's get a break from the screen time. Or it doesn't have to be 25 minutes. It can be whatever you want. But, there's a nice mindfulness break in the middle of a class period would be good,
Yeah. In fact, I got to tell you, when I was teaching high school Spanish, I remember one year I had this particularly squirrely group of freshmen that I always got right after lunch. So they're coming out after lunch. They're freshmen. They've been playing lunch ball. They've been playing basketball in the gym and running around and everything and talking to the friends, and they're all wound up. And they would come into class, and I would try to get settled in and try to do work. 47-minute class periods, and it was just like pulling teeth. And eventually it got to be the spring. It took me all the way until the spring to figure this out. And I was like, I'm going to let you guys go outside, because my classroom is right next to an exterior door. I said, we're going to go outside for 5 minutes. And I said, if I give you those 5 minutes, will you come back inside and give me 42 minutes of total focus? And they said, yes. And they weren't lying, and it worked. And so I've got a case study right there of how all of this works. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. But I'm also very curious to ask you, so some of the stuff you've talked about to this point, your mindfulness apps, like the Calm app, Pomodoro and everything, you mentioned that AI plays into all of this. So what are some of the roles that AI plays in this whole idea of trying to boost your mindfulness and your self-care and all of that stuff?
Well, I also think that joy, let's talk about wellness first of all. What is wellness? And the definition of wellness, I like to think, I read this book called The 7 Circles of Wellness, wellness from the perspective of indigenous teachings, which I love. And, they talk about these circles of wellness. We have connections to land, right? I always feel better when I'm out in nature, when the sun is on. Chelsea Luger and Tosh Collins, right? They talked about how there wasn't really a word for wellness in their, a lot of indigenous peoples, because they were always living in connection to everything, and everything was symbiotic, right? There was, but now there's a lot of unwellness, right, with modern civilization. So connections to, natural foods, getting quality sleep, movement, ceremony, your rituals, right? So rituals, that's my Pomodoro is my ritual. My meditation is my ritual, right? Saying grace or being thankful and looking at the food, healthy food before we receive it. Gratitude is a ritual. Your sacred space, your environment. So getting creative, and then your community. So, and I think the connections and community and the creativity and community comes because I feel like we can build more community with there. I also feel like our sacred space starts with us first. And the more we can connect to us, the more, and I think creativity is a huge part of wellness, because that's joy, right? I don't want to just walk through life as a zombie. I want to wake up to get excited about this stuff. And I tell teachers, because if we don't equip teachers with some good AI practices, we can easily, it's just like when Chromebooks and technology first got in the classroom. Technology can make, a so-so teacher worse or an awesome teacher better, right? It depends on where we're going. It's everybody, right? The power we have. And I say, don't just be a box checker. I can use AI, help me come up with, write a lesson plan. Cool. But if that's all I do and I copy paste that, write a 5th grade lesson plan, that's just checking a box. That would have taken you a long time. Use that time to get to know your students. What's the population that you serve? Give me a 5th grade lesson plan with this standard that has manipulatives, includes English language, ELD, integrated ELD strategies, that is culturally sustaining, steer clear of any stereotypical or offensive stereotypes. My population is 90% Mexican American, which my population is, and my students love Takis, Minecraft, Roblox, and anime.
That
Give
sounds about
me
right.
give me 10 creative lesson themes. Like that's one of my favorite ideas. I just use it as an ideator, right? Like, yeah, it's good at doing structure, but like sometimes my brain stops working after 3 p.m. I'm gonna be honest, Matt. Like,
Yeah.
and I just want to get some ideas and like give me 10 creative ideas. I call it my David Letterman prompt. Give me 10 creative ideas for this, this, this. And then it goes, and I'm like, oh, that looks like fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then now let's pick that one. Now give me the lesson plan, help me design the essential questions, help me build the activities, things like that. So if I can use it to design stuff that I'm super excited to go do my job with, that's not just centered, that's not just grounded, that's not just present.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a life full of joy, and turning that dysregulation that is also contagious can then make that joy contagious, because dysregulation is contagious, but regulation is contagious, and joy is hella contagious. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think too much of our joy as educators has been taken. So like, don't just like find out what your students are into. That's awesome. Like, but like you deserve to have joy too. If you're into Star Wars or you're into whatever, work that in there, and like let your passion come out in front of your students. I love charcuterie, and like I'm gonna make a fraction lesson about charcuterie, and we're gonna have some snacks with some cheeses, as long as there's no lactose intolerant stuff. But like, just share pieces of yourself too. Share that creativity. Like, learn about your students, but then reconnect with yourself, and bring that into these things that you design with the help of AI.
Okay. I got you. I think I'm starting to wrap my brain around this idea a little bit more. I think when we came into this, I had this preconceived idea that we were going to talk about using AI as like a brainstorming partner to help you, whatever. But I think what I hear you really saying, which I love even more actually, is that if we use AI and AI is just a tool to get to the other side where we're trying to go. AI is one way, but it could be anything. Like if you become more productive using AI or using whatever, and you've got extra time, how are you going to use that in the best way? So really, AI is on the one side of it, is on the like get the work done, be more efficient side of it. So that when you have that extra time, what are you going to do with that time, right? Like, how are you going to spend that time? And that can be about whatever. And what I'm hearing from you is that you've found some really great ways to be able to use that extra time that has fed you and sustained you, and probably has also made you a better professional too. More excited about you. It's like we were just saying a second ago, made you more excited about your work, makes you want to come back to it and everything. It's like this whole cycle. I'm seeing this whole cycle where everything kind of feeds into each other. Am I starting to get the picture right here?
Yeah. And I mean, I just throw spaghetti on the wall, Matt. This is what I've been, you know what I mean? So like, and I think it's the thing is we have to share with each other, like, how are you using these tools? Yeah. And I'm like, this is just one way I've been using it. I've used it to meal prep, like, which is another, like, I gotta, I'm on a budget. How can I make some quick, like low carb stuff in the crock pot? When, with this, I got this in the grocery. My friend told me about this app where you can take a picture of what's in your fridge and it can give you like recipes. I'm like, that's amazing. But like, I just come up with like, give me a $50 budget grocery list, for the week that I can get some quick, easy tasty protein dish in the crock pot. I've had it, try and use it. I've created a custom GPT to help me with like a workout plan, and with like, I have a garage circuit training in my garage. So like, help me with some of that. So there's that too. My sister is redesigning this dining room and she was stuck. I was over at her house. She was like, I'm kind of at a standstill, and she bakes a lot. It's a big passion, and she's kind of doing a side job, but she wants this baking space that also transforms as like a place where we can have dinner and like hides all the baking stuff. So she was at a standstill. I mean, this comes down to sacred space, right? And I told her, I redesigned my garage using ChatGPT. I took pictures of my garage and I said, this is what I have. I want this, this, this. And now my garage, I'll have to show this to you. It's like a content creator studio. I got 3 sections for like a foam covered like podcast booth that looks like a music recording studio, a couch with a big graffiti mural. And ChatGPT helped me like come up with ideas that I had never thought. And last week I helped my sister and then design this. And then ChatGPT was like, maybe you could do this dual purposing with seating. And then would you like a visual of this to represent it? And my sister's like, yes. So we hit yes. And it gave her a visual. She was like, oh, that gives me a lot of good ideas. So,
right?
I mean, it's like, but that comes with the creativity. Like if we don't pause ourselves, I think, to like, what do I really want? How can I use this effectively? It's hard to be creative when we're just super stressed out and burnt,
Yeah. Yeah. And what you were just saying there, identified something that I've noticed about some of the AI tools that are out there too, is that a lot of times, we sort of think about using it for, getting our work done and coming up with ideas. And it's like all very efficiency oriented stuff, which is all good. And that plays into what we're talking about in this session here. But I think it can also, and I've heard you say some of this, so maybe we can focus in on this for just a little bit, but it can also be kind of like a partner to help you get things centered, a partner to help you think through the right kinds of thoughts, a partner to, almost like a sort of like a wellness partner or something. Like I'll give an example. There is a tool out there that I think is really one of the coolest uses of AI in education. And it's this tool called Mirror that uses something like ChatGPT. But what it does is when you start a new session with it, which you can do on your device, your cell phone or your, you're about to write it down so you can go check it out, aren't you, Ed?
Yep. Oh yeah.
So what it will do is, whatever device you're using it on, and the site is called Mirror Talk, and you can find it at mirrortalk.ai. I'll just put it up here on the screen.
Nice.
So what you do is you show up to one of the sessions and it says, tell me what you're working on. It's the same prompt every single time to start, and you just talk, and it picks it up through the microphone and it grabs a transcript of what you've said, and then it asks you a bunch of follow-up questions about it. So see, I could even see in something like this, if we've got that extra time and we want to be able to, focus on whatever it is that's going to, soothe our soul or heal ourselves or whatever, like, being able to reflect on that kind of stuff. Like, and you could even use it like, I've been really struggling with, X, Y, and Z. And it asks you all of these questions in a way that you might not think about otherwise. So, I've used it in my creative work where I've said, I'm wanting to create this kind of resource for teachers. And it asks like, what patterns do you see in this? Or if you thought about it from this perspective, how does it change the way? And so it like asks you all of these sort of divergent questions that you wouldn't think of otherwise. And all of a sudden you've kind of got a new focus. And I feel like big picture, that's a way that people aren't using AI enough for, is to help kind of like channel and direct their thoughts and help them to think differently, because really that's feeding us as humans. That's a very human thing. And if it can help to level us up as humans, I think that's a good thing. Sorry, this is your session, but you just got me going on this. Like I'm like, getting up on a soapbox on this one. What do you think about all that, Ed?
I love it, but that's what we do. We build. This is the connections and creativity that I'm talking about, right? Like we have to water these seeds to see what ideas grow, and like but that's how getting to know ourselves and what we want, right? I think, like, I know the focus has been on prompt engineering. I relate it to a math practice. It's like attending to precision. What exactly do you want? But like out of your job, but out of your life too. Like, like being precise. And someone mentioned somewhere that prompt engineering is a skill, but it's really question formulation and identifying the real problem is the skill. Like, what is the problem you're trying to solve? Is it stress? Is it over, too much workload, anxiety? Is it relationship? You know what I mean? Like I've created some custom GPTs that have helped me with some of this, like building on what you're talking about, using nonviolent communication. I don't know if you've ever heard of nonviolent communication, but I love it. It's like the 4, very mindful. What are the facts, right? Because we react.
Oh, okay.
From we react from stressful points, like violent communications, like blaming, judging,
I see now.
gossip. And so nonviolent communication, if we could just be nonviolent communicators in a school setting, like that would be amazing, because like kids wouldn't feel attacked or judged or labeled. And then we'd teach them, it's like a version of, it's like emotional intelligence with training wheels. Let's see if I can remember the 4 components. It's like state the facts, like take your emotions out of it, then state how did that make you feel? What are the emotions? But also, how did the other person feel? Like if you have a situation at work, what are, I forget the third one, but then the fourth one is what are the requests? Like, and so it basically helps you work through conflict resolution. Yeah, feelings, observe facts, acknowledge your feelings, figure out what the needs, because usually the negative feelings have come from your needs not being met or someone else's needs, and that's what caused the violence. And then making a request, and it's I've used this. I learned this. I was taking this certificate program. Just got my certificate, the Breathe for Change program. It's a mindfulness and yoga program, but they taught me this, and it's beautiful. And then I use ChatGPT to like, I have this issue. How can I use nonviolent communication to help me resolve this issue? And it really helps me like get to the point. This is how I'm feeling. I think this is how the other person's feeling, because it's good to sit in someone else's shoes, right? Every brain is its own world. And I'm like, it's helped me resolve these stories, these negative stories that start spinning in my head. And I just resolve stuff and then move on. And it's like, oh yeah, because I've had people go, that's such a thoughtful reply. I really appreciate that, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, that one's helped a lot. The other one I've done is I've created a custom GPT. You know, if you're spiritual or whatever beliefs you have, you know, and those things, like I'm a big fan of Don Miguel Ruiz and the 4 Agreements, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, that the presence is all we have, and Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist, who passed away a couple of years ago. But I created a custom GPT that just says, can you take the teachings of these 3 spiritual leaders that are from different cultures and really saying the same thing out of most, you know, and then just help me process certain things, conflicts that come up in my life, because I love their teachings and I love the way they explain things. And what that GPT does is then grabs all the public information, you know, from them, scrapes the internet, and then it helps me understand, oh yeah, that I what's going on. Yeah, that's what's hitting with my ego right now. If it's relating to Eckhart Tolle, it's relating to this. Don't take things personal, like Don Miguel Ruiz. And it helps me like reinforce my learnings using teachings and from artists and teachers that I've already learned so much from.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So hearing you talk about this brings up another question that I want to ask you. Maybe folks that are watching this are having this same thing. Like, so if we go back to sort of the core idea of this session, which is that, you know, if you're able to save more time, how are you going to use it? I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey or your process to coming up with an answer to that question. We've touched on it a little bit sort of tangentially throughout all of this, but like once you've got, and for many of us, this is such a rare thing, is to figure out, okay, I've got some space, I've got some margin. Now, what in the world am I going to do with it? So like, how do you come up with that? Because one of the things I've admired about you is you've like delved into all of these different things. You talked about some of them right here. You know, then there's like, you know, the meditation and, you know, like traveling and like starting this nonprofit. And it's like, you've got all of this cool stuff going on. And it's clear that you've put some thought into how you want to spend this time in the margins, and you're doing it well. Like, coach us. Like what can we do to make the most of that, do you think?
Well, let me start by reintroducing myself, if that's okay. I want to, because what AI really means to me is, and I took this from a friend of mine, Marisol Rerucha, who wrote the book Beyond the Surface of Restorative Practices.
Yeah.
And she calls it the authentic introduction based on indigenous teachings. And it's called the 7 generations principle. That sometimes in Western civilization in the United States, we see like, I look at you and people see just Matt Miller, or people look at me on the screen, they see Ed Campos. but it's so much deeper. If we really know that, Matt, right, you are not just you and I am not just me.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that AI really is ancestral intelligence. And for me, like, I'm forgetting about the technology, because the more I sit with myself, I think like the more I can reclaim some time, and I actually love getting away from technology. I'm going to spend a weekend, 48 hours with no technology starting at 3 p.m. today. And I'm going to a cabin just to disconnect.
Nice.
To who I am. And I think Marisol Rarucha, she shared this practice with me, and she said, I want to introduce this to you. So I'm not talking about GPT. I'm talking about like, who are you? That, you know, these devices are designed to take our attention, like slot machines, like it's right. They are designed for that. Step away from those and sit with yourself for a little bit, for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, for half an hour. Think about your AI, right? Think about your ancestral intelligence. There's so much knowledge that we all have going back generations. And think about those generations that came before you. Marisol introduced me to this concept of the 7 generations, which is kind of relates to environmental stewardship that the natives talked about. We are impacted by 7 generations from our past, but what we do impacts 7 generations into our future too, which for me, as someone who works with trauma impacted youth, was so beautiful to hear, because we always hear about generational trauma and the traumas that we've inherited. But the fact that the importance of our actions today, right now, as we go forward, like really shifted the thinking. And this is why this is important for us to like know who we are. So I think on the next slide, I'm going to tell you who I am, right? My name is Ed Campos. I am a Chicano from Central California. I am the son of Mona Limos. I am the grandson of Margaret Eguia, rest in peace. I am the older brother to 3 beautiful sisters, Deanna, Jenny, and Alyssa. And I am the older brother who walked both Deanna and Jenny down the aisle, because my father dealt with his own demons and did not, was not there, so I assume that responsibility. And I am the best uncle. I try to be the best uncle in the world to my nephews, Felix and Elias, who are super creative. And I'm the nephew to my uncle, my Tio Luis, who marched with Cesar Chavez, the United Farm Workers. And there's more generations, but like, that's who I am. So I stand never alone. Just like I know, Matt, your support system, you're so much more, all your intelligence, people, they just see you, but you're so much more than that, right? Like who has poured into you? And what I want to ask people is like, what do they want for you? What did my grandma, I meditate on my grandma and talk to her often. What do they want for us right now? Is it to do more work or do better work? And so I sit with that a lot, I mean, this, and then I just say, like, start reclaiming some of that time so you can sit with it some more, sit, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's 15 minutes. I've learned so much. I have to get a shout out to Dr. Saba Kidwai from Designing Schools, and her new amazing colleague, Sophie Theodoro. I think that's her name. I've learned so much from Saba about using AI and design thinking with a humanized approach that I think I had some instinctual ancestral ways that I was trying to use it, not let it use me. But the design thinking approach, which is to attack problems and help ideate on creative solutions to your problems, has kind of shifted. And that's kind of the way I go about things, because thanks to Saba and her boot camp. And then Sophie Theodoro shared one of the most fire prompts I've ever seen on her Instagram recently. She said, and I think her Instagram is @Teach2AI. And she said, ChatGPT and AI is not good at projects. We have projects, it's good at tasks. So ask it, here's a project I have, describe it. What tasks are you, the ChatGPT, best suited to do? And what tasks am I best suited to do, the human? And then to split that and to know I can count on this machine to just do all of this, help with the ideation, but then really distinctly set that mark. What's the human work I need to do? I think is a beautiful thing. And I would recommend people doing that. And then one of the things I've taken with that is now ChatGPT be my project manager. And so I've been doing these part of the nonprofit work that I've done is I've started doing these creative hustle retreats at Shaver Lake here in Central California. And I bring some educators and artists out there to have some stillness, and we do some meditation in the morning. People go for walks, people get into their own. And then we do a lot of analog ideation. What's a project you're working on? What's a dream? What's a, and then we do a lot of post-it work. We put it up on white books. There you go. And then I bring educators and artists together because I think educators, a lot of us have forgotten that we're artists, and a lot of artists sometimes have been pushed out of education and don't think school is the place, but like we need to get back to that. And I think there's like inspiration. So this is my buddy Reggie, a graffiti artist that I commissioned to come and do a live piece of art there. And then we ideate with analog. We give feedback to each other. We connect human, no technology going on. And then we leave that stuff up. We go hike, we go boat, we go do whatever, get back, get into some nature. And then we come back, we have dinner, maybe a couple of adult beverages. And then we take snapshots of all that and put that in the ChatGPT and say, here's the projects we're working on, the dreams. Here are the barriers that we've identified. Here's the feedback. Help give some creative ideas for this. These are the ideas I want. Now plan this out. I want this to happen in 2 years. Give me a project plan. Give me some dates once I refine that. And then I plug those dates into my Google Calendar, and I have reminders for that stuff to like keep me chasing after my dreams. So, and we've done 3 of those so far. We're going to do a few more, and I've done some sessions where I basically do, like, I can't invite all of y'all to the Shaver Lake cabin, but like I do some creative hustle retreats. I did it at Dr. Sanal Patel had this Edu Zen retreat, which was a beautiful, innovative, got to give a shout out to Sanal Patel conference where they mixed mindfulness. I was the keynote for that one. I think that's when you reached out to me.
Yeah.
They mixed mindfulness with AI. So like the keynote, and then guided mindful journaling, and then teaching a little bit about AI with some play, and then a guided meditation, and then teaching a little bit about AI. And then we did a sound bath, and it was 2 days of balanced learning about AI and technology, and then mindfulness. I was like, it calms so many people's nerves. Like I had one teacher come up to me and say, like, I was so anxious about AI. I thought 2 things about it before this conference, that AI was going to take my job and that students are going to use it for cheating. Yep. Now this conference and she said, is like, I can get my time back and be a better human being with my kids and have more fun, and they can have more fun.
Yeah.
And then I can get creative and do things I've never done. I was like, I think we got, you know what I mean? The more, so, you know, it's crazy, but we're just, we just got to keep throwing spaghetti on it, Matt. That's what I say. Yeah. We're professional spaghetti throwers,
Yeah, exactly. Ed, I got to say, in this whole time that we've gotten to spend together, it's like, sometimes I have people come on and they're like, here are 6 steps to do something. And this hasn't been one of those sessions, but what I think I love about this has just been kind of like an organic conversation about balance. That's really what I'm hearing. It's like we're looking at that like human technology balance and trying to get it right. And it's been in so many different, that's like the overarching message I'm getting from this whole thing is that, there's a way to be more efficient in our work so that we can free up more time for things. But really what we're talking about, I think, is the essence of being humans. And I feel like, especially in this day and age when AI is starting to become more and more capable and becoming more and more widespread, this is one of the big essential questions we're trying to figure out is, what does it mean to be human? And what do we hold sacred as humans? And how do we put more eggs in the basket of being human? And to me, this whole session has just been like you very generously sharing your journey to trying to come up with answers to that question in a variety of different ways, whether it's, hosting retreats or, coming up with, ways to be more mindful and to, to meditate. I mean, just like all of this stuff. And so I wondered if maybe here at the end, we could just touch on that idea of balance that feels like it's sort of the overarching thing. Because I feel like that's one of the big things that we're going to have to wrestle with for the rest of our lives is, where do we use AI and where do we use the human ability? And can we use AI to enhance our human ability and everything? Like, what's your take on all that of getting the balance right when it comes to AI and human?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to, for me at least, like we have to first set boundaries with ourselves because nobody's going to do it for us, right? They haven't been doing it for us, and AI is not going to instinctively prompt itself to set a boundary for you, right? And for me, I have to say, I know we say I don't have the time, but I think just start with 5 minutes. Start with 3 minutes of 3 minutes of some of these meditation apps or sitting out there or getting on the sun. You have to kind of figure out what's in your wellness bag, I like to say.
Yeah.
Is it coloring? Is it listening to music? Is it taking a walk? Is it hitting a punching bag? Find out what you can do for 5 minutes. Is it coloring? And then protect that time for you and then grow that time. Because I think if you do that, if you give that gift of that 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes to yourself, you're going to be better at the next task. You're going to be more grounded, and then you're going to be better for your students, and then do we not think that our students who've grown up with only technology need to learn these skills? I think like this is something we could work together with, like I think if we ask teens, there's a lot of teens that know that these devices and social media are super poor for their mental health. So I think if we start to like say, hey, this is what we're doing, we're going to do a no tech break, just walk around, do a 5-minute walk around campus and get some sun and go back to doing it. Like you said, right? You said it worked for you and do these experiments. We're just laboratory scientists for our own lives. Yes. And we got to keep trying. I don't know, we all have different environments and different control environments, and it's I'm in California. Are you still in Indiana?
Yes, sir.
Yep. You know what I mean? But a lot is the same. You know what I mean? There's a lot that's different, but there's a lot is the same. The humanity is the same. And then I think once we can start setting boundaries for us, reach up to our brothers and sisters, our non-binary folks, and like check in with them and like let's help ourselves set boundaries and help ourselves level up on how to use some of these tools for these purposes. You know what I mean? I think for me, that's my AI policy. Like, I really want to see us share these ideas, and we got to take care of each other. We're here to take care of each other. I don't think there's any other purpose. That's why we're in teaching. But sometimes like the mechanic who drives the beat up car fixes everybody's car but themselves. We don't take care of ourselves. And like, we gotta get the hoopty running again, put the air in the tires a little bit so I can cruise and have the car show. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. I should have guessed that at some point we would get a word like hoopty dropped into this session if I was going to have you in on it, man. That's how we're going to make it like authentic Ed Campos, is we're going to get stuff like that. And I love it. That's like perfect. So, all right, cool. Well, hey, this has been fantastic, Ed. And like I said earlier, thank you for being just so generous to share your, sort of your journey and your thought on all of this and how to get that balance right. That's what I'm hearing kind of through all of this. I did want to throw Ed's contact information. If you've been watching this and you're like, I just need some more Ed Campos in my life, we can find him on Insta. Of course, you mentioned earlier, campocreativo.org is where you can find his work when it comes to that. And then there's the Instagram account for that as well. So if you want to, catch up with Ed and all the other things that are going on, that's a good place right there. So, Ed, any last words of wisdom or anything that you want to throw in here at the very end before we wrap it up?
I mean, there's a lot you can do in 5 minutes. Experiment with that, and then share your dream with people and ask people what their dream are. And then like start chasing that. You know, I don't want to wake up and not chase my dream. You know what I mean? And we shouldn't, because sometimes we live other people's dream. And stay connected. And then I'm going to plug the playground. We got the AI playground coming up on December 18th with a special guest host that you all might know, Mr. Matt Miller. That's one of the other things that me and my friend Kate Toll and I are doing. We think that teachers deserve to play with AI. And we just had a session on image generation. And then we got Matt Miller coming in on December 18th. And then in January, to do some Notebook LM for us and play around with Notebook LM. And then Brent Warner is going to talk about using AI with multilingual learners in January. So
yeah. And so if you're watching this and December 18th has already gone by, I'm sure that there's probably a way to watch this on replay. But if it hasn't, you could always come and join us. And then you've got that link right there, and we'll make that available in your attendee resources with the Ditch Summit. So Ed, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Thank you so much, brother. This is an honor. I'm still honored and in awe that I got invited, but I hope some stuff was useful and there's at least one thing that folks can take away and just keep connecting, right?
Yeah, no, this has been fantastic. And I got to say, thank you all so much for watching and being part of the Ditch That Textbook Digital Summit. We'll catch you on the next show. Take care.